USA Warrior Stories is a not-for-profit organization designed to record, archive, and share videos of veterans' stories, to help veterans make a connection with one another and to help us all better understand their sacrifices for our freedoms.
I grew up in Yonkers, New York, and Pleasantville. My mother died when I was very young, and so I was in not really a foster family, but my father was a house painter, and he was painting the house of this family in Pleasantville. And she saw this little girl. She had 2 sons, and she saw this little waif and wound up taking me in for the next 3 or 4 years. Had no money to go to college or art school, which is where I wanted to go. My, quote, foster aunt, she said, you know what I would do if I was young? I would go in the service and see the world. Now, in the 1950s, going into the service for women was really very uncommon.
Almost everybody deep down inside goes for adventure, doing exciting things, seeing new places, making new friends, and working in an interesting job. Well, now, ladies, just this kind of adventure and living is waiting for you in the United States Marine Corps. That's right. Women have been an important part of the Corps for some time now, filling vital jobs in fields like aerology, aviation, personnel, intelligence, communications, photography, and many, many more.
I had 2 of my buddies that were joining the Marines, and so I said, well, I'll join the Marines too. So I did at 18. And off I went to Parris Island, the land of sand and sand fleas, and people yelling at you constantly and telling you what a worthless individual you were. And of course, in those days, the women did not train with the men at all. We were totally separate. But we had a male drill instructor, and he said, all right, ladies, I am going to be your drills instructor. And they told me, don't curse at the ladies. So I won't be cursing at you, damn it. So that was our introduction to Parris Island.
What was your MOS?
Well, I don't know what the number was, but it was clerk typist. And I was stationed in Washington, D.C. in the commandant's office. I wasn't there very long before somebody noticed me because I was tall and thin and good-looking and blonde, and they said, we want to take her picture. It was very exciting. You know, I'm a little hick from Yonkers, and suddenly I'm on posters and I'm, all over the place. So it was very exciting. The organization of stamp collectors and so on felt that it was time to have a stamp with the women in the 4 services on a stamp. And so they went through this whole thing of up to the president and getting the okay. We were photographed, and then our artist rendition, because a living person is not on a stamp. So they are renditions of us. But it's my stamp, and I have the original issue of it. And it was 3 cents. And then I was picked to go to San Francisco to be in a recruiting duty for a first lieutenant, Edry Anchor, and they made me a sergeant. I just photographed so much out there. I was her driver. We were going to college campuses, and we were interviewing young women, seniors probably, for officer training. And we ran into the young college-age male that made our lives sometimes uncomfortable with their comments, as we would be sitting at a table out on the campus grounds, and so they'd, be wise guys as college men are. So I was there until I got married. You don't get married in the 1950s in the service. So I was politely asked to leave slightly before the end of my my tour. But I had an honorable discharge. It's just, there's honorable discharge, and then under section blah, 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 like, what is that? She got married. So when I got out of the service, I went to Columbia on the GI Bill. And that was probably a total game changer for my life, to go from a family, very nice family, came from, nobody had ever gone to college. Many had not finished high school. So that was a very big deal for me, very exciting. And that's when I met my husband, who had been in the Air Force. We had discussed when we got married that we would wait to have children. He had just started a new job. So I got pregnant on our honeymoon. We figured that was long enough to wait. And Ken came down with cancer and died at 31. And Bob, my now husband, was his boss. Robert Kandel was in the Army during the Korean War, served in Korea, and he and I just celebrated our 60th wedding anniversary. And we have two sons, along with my daughter. I went on to many part-time jobs while I was raising the children. I was an artist, continued to paint, make small sculptures, showed my work, occasionally actually sold some things. I went back to school again to get my master's, and I got a job in Portledge School, which is in Locust Valley, and taught there. And while I was there, I finished my master's degree. And 3 times I got to spend a month out at Skidmore College with other high school art teachers. And that, for the first time, I had full time to work. And I started to do small artist books, 3-dimensional artist books, and started to write in them. And then I moved off the book and started writing on the paper, and suddenly I was a poet. So now I'm a poet. And I am very honored to be selected as the Nassau County Poet Laureate. Many people, when you say, oh yes, I'm the Poet Laureate, they get this blank look in their face, like, oh, what's a laureate? And then I tell them the whole story. It goes back to ancient Greece, and because of the laurel tree, they called it and put the crown on and laurel leaves and so on. So that kind of takes me up to now. My husband said to me, we both retired in 99, and he said, you should go out to the VA, and I went, I don't think so, But he kind of talked me into it, so I did. And they gave a big luncheon for women veterans. This goes back 5-6 years, something like that. And so I thought, oh, I'll go. And I met some women Marines, and I met lots of, but they were all younger. I think there was like one other woman of my age, which is 25, but I'm posing as older. There were a number of tables of Army vets, Navy vets, and one table of Marine vets. So when I met them, I started to get involved a little bit in veterans affairs, women veterans, because in the 50s, you got out, bye, see ya. There weren't, listen, you need to join the this and that. No, there was none of that.
I originally met you one day at Honor Flight.
Yeah, I can't think of anything better than what they do. It is an amazing experience. You're given a shirt. It says Honor Flight. Someone comes and picks you up, drives you out to MacArthur Airport. You're met at the door by your guardian with a wheelchair. I said, I really don't need a wheelchair. She said, it's okay, just in case. So you're in the wheelchair. You get pushed around the whole day. Well, we actually landed outside of D.C., and we went to the monuments, the Korean Monument, the Second World War, and the Vietnam. And there are a lot of people who are just there applauding you. From the time you arrive till the time you leave, there are Americans applauding you and saying thank you for your service. And I just broke down and started to cry. Really, it was just amazing. It was just amazing. I was interviewed and asked whether I consider myself a standard bearer. And I said, honestly, I never thought of myself that way. I loved the Marines. I was a terrific Marine. I was so spit and polished, you couldn't stand it, And it gave me my education, which started me on a whole different path through life.